considers the ordinance will have the exact question to be voted on at the November election.
Can I just jump in for a second? So for example, let's say tonight we agree that it will be 0.0, I'm just saying we haven't agreed yet. Let's say we agree that it would be 0.05 earned income tax, which would generate approximately $80,000 a year and cost the taxpayer approximately $40 a year. So then that would read, that's what we agree on tonight, and that would read.
Did you say 0.05?
Say, right,
So if they're going to direct us to do a 0.05 earned income, it would read, do you favor the imposition of an earned income tax in the amount of 0.05 by Lower Frederick Township to be used for open space acquisition and maintenance? That would be the question. To be very clear, the word tax would be in, the rate would be in.
Yeah, but you didn't use the word increase.
it's not an increase, it's a new tax. It's not an increase.
Then you want to say new tax of?
You would have to do new or increase.
You're hiding behind a sleight of hand verbiage.
The word imposition doesn't have too many letters. I mean, you just have to be fair. I understand it, but new tax. You didn't say new tax.
Bob Burns, Singerville Road. A couple questions here. So, are the two options to the attorney? Are the two options that you're talking about the only two options that come up for this in the state of Pennsylvania? Is there not a per capita possibility that people could pay, like a $25 per capita tax?
So not for open space, correct?
So the only two options are the two that you have on there?
Yes.
Okay, so then my next question would be to Terry Fedorchak. You mentioned that if we raise whatever, $80,000 a year, that would give us the borrowing power of 1.2 over a 25-year period of time.
Correct.
Okay, so how does that strap our township later on when we have other things that come up that we need that borrowing power for, that's now strapped because we went and created this fund to have this money to put a down payment down and to get whatever other funds that are out there. Now we've got a loan. How's it going to hold us in our borrowing power for the future for other things that we might need?
There are certain limits to the amount of money a community can borrow. There's a complicated calculus that goes into that. However, in this case, since it's going to be voted on, it's considered electoral debt. So that stands alone, and that will not have a direct impact on your borrowing capacity at the end of the day.
But you mentioned something.
Sorry, can you say your name and address?
Sorry, Pam Hartnett, Spring Mountain Road. Earlier you mentioned something that I didn't know, that people, even at the lowest increment of an EIT collected, in the first year you get 80,000 something. But you said that could be borrowed upon to buy something that costs way more. That's not good.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's what I said. What I was trying to say was the $80,000 a year that you would receive from a 0.05% earned income tax will allow you to borrow something in the neighborhood of $1.2 million up front in order to purchase property. And you would have that covered at least for the next 25 years. Yes.
Oh, I believe it. I'm just shaking with disbelief.
You're going down.
Oh my God.
Phil, just two quick points. Bill Smith, 205 Burlock Road. First of all, in all fairness to Terry, that is one example of how one could approach preserving open space to buy it outright. So, as I previously said, there are other avenues that money that we generate per year could be leveraged in order to acquire open space and not buy it outright and putting it out over 25 years. So that's one thing. And in answer to the gentleman to the rear brought up, how do we prioritize open space here in the township. I would encourage, in fact, everybody here tonight to look at our open space plan, which was generated in 2006 and updated in 2015, and look at the way that the township has defined how we would like to address open space parcels, including the prioritization of those parcels that we consider at that time to be of highest value. Not to say that every parcel that is out there was identified at that time, but those that were important to us at that point in time, that moment in time, were put in a priority order that we could use as a way in which to acquire grants or make proposals to our Board of Supervisors for consideration. Thank you.
Sherry Schweiker, 109 Schweiker Road. I'd like to encourage the
Sorry, can you
supervisors.
speak up?
Sherry Schweiker, 109 Schweiker Road. I'd like to encourage the supervisors, whatever today's decision is, to make sure that that information is shared with the general public, perhaps on the website. There's a lot of people here today who said they didn't understand the referendum that they signed, okay? By sharing that, it gives all the voters the opportunity, those that are here tonight and those that are not, to make their decision at the polls.
Ruth House, Swamp Creek Road, can you just confirm, not tonight, but in the future, that under the plans section of your website, that the open space plan is the 2015 version? Because I'm pretty sure I was looking at that earlier today, it's 2006. I just want to make that comment. Just double check. People are going to be looking at that.
It was updated on a recommendation from the Planning Commission and adopted by the Board of Supervisors in 2015 revisions.
Second option of increasing the property tax. I just don't think that's fair to seniors, so could that be ruled out at this meeting? So there's only an income tax?
That's fair.
We were really looking at the earned income.
Okay,
Property.
Yeah, and in fact, of all the options we have, we were going to consider the absolute lowest amount, which is a really minimal amount. And again, as many people in this room have suggested, and I think it's a good idea, to start the education process as soon as possible, so everybody is aware of this and they can make an educated decision when they go into the polling place. And again, if the majority of the people in this township are against it, it's going to be defeated.
Can there be a requirement that you use extremely plain language? You can still write something that's legal with extremely plain language.
That's a question for our lawyer.
New tax.
What would be a new tax, because it's a separate.
Right, that's a shorter worded imposition.
Yes.
Joe Shinsky, Village Drive, following up on what Ernie had to say about the ambulance and the fire company, I guess I'd like to add to that the police department. I think it would be more well served to the community if we had a referendum and make this a 24/7 police department. Because right now you're talking about taxing the people for this open space referendum. But if the governor has it his way, everybody in this room and everybody in this township will be paying a fee for the lack of coverage that we do not get from our police department. And everybody in here will pay that. So that's in addition to this extra tax that they're talking about. And right now we don't know what that number is because he hasn't really came up with the right formula based on the amount of police coverage that we have currently and the amount of state police coverage that we currently have also. So I would much rather see a referendum supporting the police department.
Joe, I agree with you. It's going to happen probably this year with the governor. He's probably going to make.
Oh, for sure.
Sorry,
We would be. And I haven't seen all of the specific language because there's so many of these variations floating around, but B is the fact that we were the primary law enforcement agency here. We are the ones that submit UCR reports to the federal government and to the state police. We would be exempt under some of those proposals. Obviously, variations could change that, so I don't want to be locking myself in totally, but obviously we would have some shielding from that.
Thank you. Well, we have to make a decision.
Well, I'd like to move that we approve a referendum for a 0.05 earning tax. The voters can then decide whether or not they
Do we have a second?
Yeah, so this is just to authorize to prevent the ordinance. So what does that mean?
We'll advertise the ordinance and then we'll on your agenda for July 23rd for vote. If you will show up on July 23rd and change your mind and want to do something different kind of tax or different rate, it would be cutting it close or maybe nearly impossible to re-advertise it before the specific process. So if you want to keep multiple options on the table, we would advertise multiple versions of the ordinance for further discussion on July 23rd. And we're fairly confident that you're going to be locked into this 0.05 or an income, and then you can just do one.
Yes, Tom?
I have a question. I was just wondering, since it was Larry who was the author of this referendum, should Marla abstain from any vote? There's just a question.
Have the attorneys?
I think a conflict is defined as a financial benefit to the supervisor or their family. There's no financial benefit to me. Is that an accurate description of a conflict of interest which requires an extension? So I don't think I'm required to abstain. Like I can get no financial benefit.
Second, just to add.
I have a question. Let's say that this motion is approved, and on our July 23rd meeting, we decide to vote down the ordinance. That means the question will not be on the ballot. Is that correct? That would give people more time to learn about the issue and then potentially have the opportunity to come out to that July 23rd meeting and make their voices heard. Am I correct?
Yes.
Just an explanation. Larry Cohen, Mine Hill Road. This can only be a referendum at a municipal election, which means it can only be held in November. So a referendum in 2019, if there's no resolution, there's no referendum. We would have to wait until 2020, assuming that the board then approved it, okay? This is not some willy-nilly thing. Also, referendum requires a minimum of 5% of registered voters. That's not 5% of voters who showed up to vote on election day, 5% of registered voters. So anybody here who wants to make a resolution regarding anything, perfectly fine. I think there was a resolution last year concerning expansion of the board. All you need is 5% of registered voters. Go out and get them.
Can you help us with that?
I would certainly love to help you if you ask for my help. The point here is this. This is a resolution that was made publicly, democratically. People read the resolution. I'm in support of open space, and they signed it. The democratic process is pretty simple. Majority rule. Now, if there is no resolution here, there is no majority rule. It is board decision. The proper procedure here, democratically, following a resolution, a referendum like this, a petition like this, would be a public referendum up or down. That is the democratic process that's been in existence for over 2,000 years. So that's what's at stake. It doesn't mean that this will never come up again, but if you wanted to make a decision, you have 4 months. If a resolution is passed, there are 4 months to then study it up. It's not like it's heavy rocket science, okay? Study it up, make a decision, and then vote accordingly on November 5th.
Jackie O'Neill, 105 Schwenk Road. It just sounds so like people are against each other right now. It's, to me, just a very good question to ask. Our open space is being eaten up by, some good development, some not so good development. And I would like to have the opportunity to buy up valuable green space at a very nominal slice of income. I would be willing to do it. I just want to ask the question. I think it just should be put on the ballot. And I agree with everyone that it needs to be clear, plain language, for sure. And then let the people decide. I just want it on the ballot, and regardless of how people vote, just want it on the ballot.
Well, I'm just curious if you're waiting for alternatives, we can barely hear.
Oh, yeah.
Most of them, we barely hear you.
Well, I'll speak up louder if I can't hear you.
Well, we didn't hear Chuck very well. That's okay.
I'll repeat myself. So I asked the question if we decided to go ahead and approve the motion for an ordinance to be advertised at our July 23rd meeting, if we can then vote it down, potentially, would it then be on the ballot or not? And the reason I asked that is for the primary reason to have a lot more people learn more about this potential to be on the ballot for the next 3 or 4 weeks, and then come to that July 23rd meeting and make their voices heard.
Did everybody hear that now? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Andrew Wojcicki, 179 Goshen Road.
Sorry, can you spell your name? Our note taker's not here.
My first name is Andrew, is not spelled, my last name is spelled B-O-C-H-A-N-S-A. Also not spelled. My question for the chairman is, what is preventing the township at this point from utilizing funds from the general fund for services?
What is what?
What is preventing the township from utilizing current funds from the general fund for purchases of those fees? Is there something?
There's nothing in the general funds right now.
There's no money in the purchase of the space? No. Okay. And that's not something considered in the budget for the year?
There's nothing in the budget for open space.
Okay. Thank you. The other comment I had was, I understand the vote tonight is to consider whether or not to advertise this for a vote in 2 weeks. I will say that I had no idea before I received some information this was even taking place tonight, and I had access to the agenda through Facebook. And discussion of open space referendum doesn't really clarify what we're actually doing here tonight. It doesn't say anything about this is going to be a tax. It doesn't say anything that's going to affect people's money potentially in November. They vote in favor of it. And I understand it's everybody's responsibility to read what's being put in front of them when they have a ballot question. I would suggest to the commissioners, the supervisors tonight, that you take into account that of the 2,240 people who turned out for the last municipal election in 2018, and that's from the Carthage results, you can pull that up if you don't believe me. We're about 13% roughly of people who signed this petition to put this before the board to vote on, potentially vote on it this November. I think the majority of voters have already spoken as to what they would like to see happen with a tax for open space. I don't think there's really, I understand you want to leave it up to the voters to look at it again in November, but presumably 2,240 people had the opportunity to look at this and 300 signed. I would suggest that there's submitted at this point that the majority has spoken.
Well, the zoning petition put out here this last election So there was only 500 some voters that come out. So it wasn't a major election.
At which election was it?
Just this past one.
The primary election?
Yes.
I was looking at the wrong numbers.
That's not, it was the general election of
It's
2008.
the midterms.
Yeah.
It's
If it was midterms, then the Cardinals turnout, the voter record was 2,200. That's from the county website. So we have roughly 13% of people that came out to vote that are in agreement with this coming to a vote this November. So I was submitting to the
Bill?
Bill, everyone is on the board. Question for the attorney. You know what took place, and the petition was signed. At this point, are we legally bound to go forward with this?
Because a petition was circulated and submitted by
Yes,
residents.
is the expectation that we must do this?
There's no legal requirement that the board do take any action on the petition. That's what you're asking me?
That's exactly what I'm asking.
Yeah, the board is not bound by the petition that's submitted to it.
Thank you.
Dan Orth, Pratt's Road. I would say that the board is bound to listen to the voice of the people, and 300 signatures, even if some of those people didn't know what they were signing, you still are bound as a board of supervisors. First responsibility is to listen to the voice of the people. It was a legally collected referendum put before the board, following the rules. They weren't required to collect what they call a majority of the polling people that day. They were just required to get that percentage of signatures in order to bring it forward to the township for a vote, get it on the ballot. So again, I go to my first statement, bring it to the I think it would be inappropriate for the Board of Supervisors to take over rule over the people who have asked for this to be on the ballot. And the citizens that made it. There are citizens here, it seems to be more, as usual, people who are opposed to things usually show up in more numbers than people who are opponents, statistically speaking. But I don't see, if people are adamant that they don't want it, they got until November to convince people it's no good. And if people are adamant that they want it, they have until November to prove it's good and get it voted. The key thing that's been heard time and time again throughout our township is that maintaining the county, the township's rural character is important. This is one of that. It's actually on everybody running for supervisor in this coming election. All has maintaining, preserving open space and that kind of stuff on their handouts, no matter who they are. So I just think it's important to follow the voice of people who put this for you and let the people decide as opposed to the board of supervisors ruling for.
Thank you. While we're on here, we're going to just add minutes. That's all we're going to look at. George
George Mount, on the drive. We've literally spent 40 minutes talking about